If you expected Bryan Kohberger to speak at his sentencing today, he did. 3 words. I respectfully decline. That's that. You can't compel him to do it. The law says so. However, after this hearing, the police and prosecutors held a news conference and dropped bombshell after bombshell. And one that hit me hard was that Bryan Kohberger was not Papa Roger. At least their investigation did not show him to be. And if you're wondering who was Papa Roger, it was the online account that seemed to know a lot of information about this case before it became public, like the knife, a K-bar knife sheath being left behind at the murder scene, where the killer parked, and oh, about that white car, nothing to see here. Here's the information as we heard it during that press conference about the Papa Roger account. Take a look.
There was a social media account that surfaced that has long had speculation that it was Bryan Kohberger. Can you talk at all about the Papa Roger potential connection, if any?
Right. There was no connection. There wasn't at all. And we looked into every bit of it. We took a deep dive into it. We researched it.
It wasn't him?
It was not.
They said it was not. I'm still wondering if he just wiped his devices so clean they did not see it, but they seemed pretty definitive. We asked Alina Smith, who was a moderator of the University of Idaho case discussion group on Facebook, where this Papa Roger seemed to ply his trade a lot, and Alina told us she's not so sure either. Take a look.
My opinion is that there's still something to it, and perhaps we know for a fact that Bryan had other phones, he had multiple phones, and he was on several different social media sites using a lot of different handles. So this is right up his alley.
I want to bring Brian Entin back into the fold here. Brian, in that press conference, it was just like an avalanche of information that was so overwhelming, not the least of which was the revelation that there was no connection found between Bryan Kohberger and these 4 kids, or even the 6 kids, the 4 who died and the 2 who survived. It was just kind of bewildering to think it doesn't exist. I'm skeptical, and I don't know how many other people there are skeptical there's no connection.
Yeah, I mean, this press conference was really something, Ashleigh. You would have had a field day, because we haven't been able to talk to the police in 2.5 years. And kudos to them. I mean, they took a lot of questions, almost all of the questions, and they seemed to answer them the best way they could, as openly as they could. But I was surprised that there's not much more there than what we already knew in the probable cause. There wasn't much more motive. And you mentioned there was always this thought that maybe there was some connection on social media. Maybe he had followed one of the girls on Instagram or something, or was, stalking them through social media. But they never found evidence of anything like that. Listen to what was said.
Was there any evidence that Kohberger was following the social media of any of the victims?
So, trust us, we wanted that to be the case. We've looked for a link, and we have not found one. Not one.
Yeah, through the entire investigation, I think that's something that we need, that you want, is to help to understand this and say, well, what's the connection? What was the link? And so we had every resource possible, and we worked that tirelessly, both from everything from his side, but all the victims and all the members of the House from their side. So we have never, to this date, found a single connection between him and any of the 4 victims or the 2 surviving roommates.
Yeah, those were the two main detectives. They had the FBI helping, scouring all of social media, but no connection, Ashleigh.
It's shocking. They also said that they don't think there was any target, or at least they don't know if one of the people in the house was actually targeted, or who, if one was, might have been the target. But they did talk about the house itself being a plan. Try to clear that up, because I was slightly confused by it.
Yeah, so they don't know who the target was. If there's a reason that he went in there and was going after one person, they just don't know. Obviously, they don't know a motive, but they did say, but they didn't have any evidence to back it up, but they said they believe the house was the target, and then sort of explained it as, you know, maybe someone was driving around in that area, it was an easy house to get into, saw the sliding glass door in the back, that may have been the reason that he chose that house. But again, didn't seem to know for sure. Take a listen.
There was a reason that this particular house was chosen. What that reason is, we don't know. We don't know who the target was, and we're not going to speculate on that up here today. But we can tell you that for whatever reason, Mr. Kohberger chose that residence. Perhaps it's the location, layout, we don't know. But that's, to the best of my knowledge, that's what that statement likely led to.
I mean, look, like so many of us, I wanted more info. I thought that we would leave this getting a little bit more, but most of the answers were kind of like that, and they were just being honest. I mean, they really don't know.
And is all of that because it doesn't exist, or is it because he was so adept at wiping his electronics using sophisticated techniques?
Yes, and that's where the FBI comes in again. They found very little on the computers. Listen to what they said.
Was there any evidence that he had tried to wipe anything from his phone, software-wise?
We had the world's foremost experts on this look into it, and there was evidence that he had used software to wipe many of his devices relatively effectively, so there wasn't much evidence obtained after that.
And you know, I was thinking, Ashleigh, today, obviously, he's guilty. He did it. He's an awful murderer, and the K-bar knife and the DNA, there's so much evidence. But I was wondering, if this went to trial, how were they going to explain some of these things to the jury in terms of motive? That could have been an issue. Maybe they knew that was an issue, because I think jurors may have had questions about some of these things.
Right, and often in murder cases, they don't know motive, and prosecutors do not have to prove a motive. They don't even have to offer motive, and they will tell you in summation they don't have to have the motive, but it is helpful if they have a motive. Something else that was a bit confounding today, Olivia Gonzalez, that's Kaylee's older sister, gave just a blistering victim's impact statement. It was so effective. And then she mentioned something about a second murder weapon. She said, she looked right at Bryan Kohberger and said, what was the second weapon you used on my sister? And then Steve Gonzalez mentioned it outside as well. And yet the police did not clear that up for us.
Yeah, and I think they were talking about that, the Gonzalez's, because of those injuries, the extensive injuries that we laid out for everybody now that we have the autopsy report. But yeah, that was one of the first things I asked police about in the press conference.
Is it possible that there was a second murder weapon used, not just the knife?
Is it possible? All the evidence shows and tells us that he used a knife, a K-bar knife, and that's a weapon we believe was used to commit all the murders.
So basically, you know, he said, is it possible? But they believe that it was only a knife. We'll have to talk to the Gonzalez's a little bit more about what they may have learned. But the police today believe it was just a knife.
Yeah, and they're looking for a little space tonight. Fully understandable. Brian Entin, don't go anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.